All right, so welcome everybody to the first version of Source Changevlog. And I'm Tyler Erickson, new CTO at Radiant Earth, and I'm here with Michelle and Anthony. I'll let you guys briefly introduce yourself.
Cool. Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Michelle Roby, and I am the director of Cloud Native Geospatial Forum, or CNG for short.
Yeah, and I'm Anthony. I'm a software engineer at Development Seed, and yeah, contributing to Source and spending a lot of time building on new features.
Awesome. So this is new, this Changevlog. Michelle, since you had you had the idea behind this name, why don't you explain what it is?
Yes, thank you. That's probably my biggest contribution to Source right now is making the name of this blog series. So we wanted to keep people updated. Lots is changing at Source, and we wanted to keep the people updated, and also just kind of explain what's going on, what decisions we're making, have a space more open for feedback from people, to hear from users, and help those that want to use Source and want to understand what's going on, but don't necessarily need to know do it all themselves, but want to understand what's going on, have a place for them to learn that. And so there's been a lot of changes since we first created Source. So we're going to do a short overview of what Source even is today, but moving forward, each time we do this, maybe once a month, maybe every other month, we'll just kind of see how often we have updates. We're going to share out updates from our releases that we have. So right now we're on version 1.3, 1.3, 1.1.3. Yep, 1.3. And we have a release from that, but we also have changes from before that release that we will chat about too. Just since this is the first one, but moving forward, we'll just talk about whatever releases we haven't talked about. And the name comes from a GitHub changelog, but because we're doing a video blog, this is Source Changevlog. Thank you. I'll pause for applause and laughs. I can hear them. Everyone, yeah. Thank you. I'm here all week. So yeah. Anything I missed on that one? Okay.
That sounds like the genesis of this.
Cool. Amazing. And I'm going to pass it off to Tyler, who's going to give an overview of what Source is.
Yeah, so maybe when you're joining us, you don't really know what Source is. So I'm going to just kind of describe it at a high level. At some point, we'll probably give a very detailed overview of all the features of Source. But I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the philosophy of why Source was created. So we're big believers in the value of cloud object storage for sharing data. But not everybody's a cloud engineer. And when you go to the console of AWS or Google or Azure or any of the other ones to share object data, it can be overwhelming even for people that kind of play in that from day to day because there's so many options. So one of the goals of Source is just to simplify that process of loading data products associated with it and sharing it to others. Take care of a lot of the stuff that you probably don't have to worry about and make it as easy as possible. These cloud technologies are challenging. We just want to make it easier. We're also trying to provide unified access to data sets that are on a bunch of different back-end cloud object stores. So you don't have to worry about that as much. You can, regardless of where it is, you're going to have a single place to come to with Source. When there are products up there, we want to give you a good way to get an idea of what products are there, a browsing, some previews of the files that are there, if we can recognize what they are, just so you don't have to actually even download things in order to figure out what they are in the first place. So we're going to be talking about some of the file visualization options that are available right now today, a little bit later on. And then finally, if you actually want to start streaming the data, Source provides a data proxy that is based on the S3 protocol can handle things like authentication so that you don't really have to worry about that. It's a lot simpler than some of the data access directly to the cloud products. So those are some of the main features of Source and why we created it. We're trying to just make it easier for people to share data products. And we're adding a bunch of features. It's constantly evolving. And that's a lot of what the rest of this talk is going to be about, the recent features that we have added into Source. I will note too that we are live streaming right now on both LinkedIn and YouTube. So feel free to add comments there if you want to ask any questions, and we'll try to get to them as we're going along. But with that, I'm going to hand it back to you guys to talk about the new features.
Cool. Thank you, Tyler. Okay, so the burning question, what's new, Anthony?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. So, okay, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. And yeah, I'm going to share my screen. We'll just do a live demo. I've already messed up. I shared just my tab. I'm going to stop this and share the entire video. But yeah, and so okay. I think we're going to start just kind of the most obvious stuff, which is just the website itself, right? So, previously when you go to source.coop, the website, you would just kind of land right in this stream of data products, and it was kind of less clear as to what Source is about. So we're trying to really improve communication on what we're trying to do on this platform, and in service of that, we've built out this new kind of landing page, which has some featured data products and just kind of some text about the problems we're trying to solve with the Source platform, and some notes of endorsement from team members. And I, as anybody who knows me personally, will say that I can't talk about this website without talking about this website, which I love. And so what's fun about it is that you can see real-time usage of Source. So these are data centers around the world that are shipping Source data products currently. So shout out Milan, someone in the Italian region is downloading some icon data set, which is great. We love that. We love to see that. So that's fun. New UI. But then beyond that, we can maybe take a quick tour into the actual data product catalog, right? And so we have a search function, and we can also filter by tags, and then open up these data products, which are akin to kind of GitHub repos, if you want to think about it like that, where users, data contributors can give a title to their data products and kind of a short description, and then and also of course the README to kind of describe in a long form manner the utility of their data product, and then a user can go and navigate it if they're looking for single products. And there's some stuff we can talk about of server-side rendering. We really spent a lot of time trying to make this a performant UI, and so I think we've made improvements on that front as well. Feeling really good about that. And then there's menus for admin menus for changing your data, and we can also click into a organization owner. And actually, let's not look at Fields of the World, which we do love, but we can look at Taylor Geospatial, which they've recently added this ROR ID. This is a research organization registry ID, and so you can click into this and kind of learn more about their organization and their relationships with other entities. So I think that, and also this we've recently added integration into schema.org, which is a way to better describe data products. I can open it up this validator. This one's kind of hard to demo because it's not really that flashy. It's just metadata, but it's the way in which a user can describe their data products, and we surface that to kind of the greater ecosystem, which I think both these last two things, is ROR IDs and schema.org integration, I think speak to this goal of Source, that Source isn't the end point of data, right? This is all about being a component, a building block within a greater data ecosystem that other search engines or ML pipelines or whatever is needed can integrate with Source and figure out what the data is about and build off of that. So yeah, that's kind of the front end quick demo. We're going to talk about data viewers in a second, but I think we'll jump to kind of lower level and talk about the data proxy, which is, again, is hard to demo. So I'm going to go back to my spinning globe just so we have something to look at when we talk. So previously, the data proxy was written as a service that lived in our AWS EC or AWS US West 2 region. And that worked well. It served a lot of data, but there's some slight shortcomings of it that we've recently addressed. So as this globe highlights, the data proxy is now globally distributed, right? It runs in data centers around the globe on the Cloudflare network. And so the idea is that if you're downloading if you're downloading data in Europe, you would ideally want to be speaking to a data center that's close to that. The data itself is still going to most of our data lives in US West 2. And it can live in other places in the world, but mirroring across the globe is financially challenging. So instead, it seems like the best solution is to get a user connected to a data center as fast as possible, and then use that data center's backbone to connect over to where the data is stored, in this case, in US West 2 typically. And so through that, users that are far away from AWS US West 2 are seeing improved throughput compared to connecting directly to an AWS bucket. And then I think there's something to be said about maybe the scalability of this. This is a serverless data proxy now, and so it scales really rapidly. And so I think, like, I was looking at logs yesterday, and there would be times, I guess, to speak to Source Cooperative's data traffic patterns, there'll be times in which we'll have sustained traffic of 10 to 50 requests a second, not a lot. And then there'll be maybe 30 minutes to an hour of like 4,000 requests a second. And so scaling between those two kind of loads is critical for us to maintain that. And we've actually, this new data proxy we've launched is doing really well with that. So that's kind of something I want to push, that if you've previously used a data proxy and you found it was slow under heavy load, give it another try. Try again, because I think you might be surprised that this new data proxy is shipping often at the same speed, sometimes better, sometimes worse than S3, but around there. And then also, I guess the final feature I want to speak about is, the thing about AWS S3 is it's been around forever. And we love S3 and we love object store in general. But, for fun fact, my understanding is S3 was the first cloud offering from AWS. It's like the OG of the cloud. And so it's been around for a really long time. It has a lot of legacy requirements to support that. And it's a slow moving ship in the sense that new features, they are building on new features, but they don't come as rapidly as, say, a team like what we could build. And so one thing you can speak about is that over AWS S3, we can only connect over HTTP 1 protocol. So just today, someone named Stephen Kent shared this on the Source Cooperative Slack. It's like a really beautiful UI for searching Earth genomes, Sentinel-2, Mosaic. And, I'll just reload this and you'll see what happens is my browser is making all these simultaneous requests for all these different chunks of data in my browser. But we're able to do this really performantly because the data proxy uses HTTP 3 protocol to serve data. And so your browser is limited by the amount of connections it can create to any origin. But HTTP 3 works where the browser shares a connection. So it can make, much higher concurrent request counts than if it were connecting directly to AWS S3, right? So that's kind of a win for the data proxy for building kind of rich in-browser data visualizations. The proxy can outperform S3 at times, which is nice. And shout out to this viewer. It's really beautiful. Okay, let's move on.
Wait, I have a quick question.
Go for it, Michelle.
How would you know when it's going to be faster and when it's going to be slower? Is that something that one could know?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, really, it depends on where you're accessing the data from, right? So if you're in AWS US West 2 itself, perhaps you're running some like machine learning workflow in AWS, I would recommend connecting directly to the bucket. If you're requesting data from an open AWS bucket, which a lot of our data is on. And so, you know, for example, we go look at a product and, you know, you can see here's where it lives on the internet or in AWS. But then here's where you can find it on the public internet via the data proxy. And so if you go and look at this URL, you can see this data lives in US West 2. So if you're running processing in US West 2, you should probably connect directly to here. I think you'll have better throughput. However, if you're not, I think as you get further from US West 2, i.e. the West Coast of the United States, the value of connecting to the data proxy increases. So if you're in Asia, if you're in Europe, if you're in Africa, South Pacific, I recommend trying the data proxy out. And then particularly also in browser situations where you need a high amount of concurrent requests, the proxy really starts to shine in those scenarios. Cool. Okay. Let's keep talking about, okay. I guess that's how we're serving data, right? The data proxy. Let's talk about uploading data. Hey, here's a little data product of mine. It's unlisted. It's not really very interesting. But a big thing we want to do is enable users to very easily get data onto Source. And that means whatever means they feel the most comfortable with. And so I really want to quickly demo this new feature we added into Source, which is this ability to upload data directly from the browser. So I can either in this view, go to our edit mode or view credentials mode. Both are the same effectively. Edit mode just kind of generates temporary credentials and gives them to my browser. I can view those credentials here, and they're available in either JSON or as environment variables I can copy and paste into your browser. And the important part of it is that they're temporary, right? These last for 1 hour, and here's the direct AWS bucket that I can connect to, and then all the permissions that are associated with these credentials are only allowed to write within this prefix. So in this example, alucache experimentation. And so I can copy and paste this into my terminal and use AWS S3 CLI, or maybe copy this JSON into a Python script and use Bodo 3 or something. Or we can just use the browser itself. So, you know, I can upload files, I can drag and drop right on this product contents. But I think what's the most interesting is this upload directory function. So I can go, I'm sharing my screen, but it doesn't share my window selection or my file selector. But what I'm doing is I'm going to select an entire directory of data. I'm not, you know, dragging and selecting many files. I'm selecting this ZAR data set. And now my browser's warning me. I understand this is not coming through on the screen share, saying, hey, do you want to upload 81 files? And I'm going to say yes. And so now we're going to begin this upload. And you can see up here, you know, I'm uploading all these different files in parallel to S3. And you can see down here, now we're populating it, right? And I can click through, and this is this nested data set, which is super important for data formats like ZAR, that we maintain the hierarchy of data. And so that's got a nice feature that this upload directory does, is that you can upload, you know, a large nested data set. And, you know, that was like 100 megabytes, and it took a few seconds, because what we're doing is every file we're breaking up into little chunks and uploading them concurrently again. And therefore getting much higher throughput than if we just try to upload one file at a time or many files at the same time. So yeah, I think there's this general notion that the browser is slow for uploading data, and I want to challenge that and say, actually, you can upload large data sets in the browser pretty fast, and it's pretty nice. Yeah, so that's I think that's uploading data. Try it with the browser if you have simple needs, if this is a one-off. We're working towards building new features for integrating with GitHub Actions workflows and your machine learning workflows and ETL pipelines to make automated submissions more streamlined. That's a future Changevlog episode. Let's talk about data viewers now, right? Like, let's assume you've got data now in Source Cooperative. We also want to make sure that you can easily understand both your data and then other data products. And so we're going to touch really quickly on a large number of viewers. Let's talk about JSON. So this is cool. This is just like a basic JSON viewer. This is this really cool storm advisory archive. And it has JSON files, storms.json. And yeah, within it, we have a simple JSON viewer that, you know, mimics what kind of a lot of browser extensions look like, and has both raw data and the JSON you can copy and collapse and, you know, do all the things you can typically do. Yeah, that's that one. We don't need to spend too much time on it. But what about STAC? STAC is also JSON, right? But we want to give that kind of a special UI to focus on. So we've leaned on this STAC extension. And so now if you open JSON, we look at it and say, does this look like a STAC catalog? And if so, we're going to render the STAC viewer. Matthias Moore built this beautiful component that allows you to navigate between collections and catalogs and, you know, explore STAC data in a more, I don't know, fluid manner that is much more natural than just like traversing JSON. Sorry, Tyler, what were you saying?
I said it flows.
Flows, yeah.
Nothing better.
Yeah. So that's that. JSON, raw JSON in like a stack format looks pretty good. Let's keep cruising. PM tiles. I love PM tiles. I love this data set. This is the OpenStreetMap open data products. And Brendan Liu created this, and it's just so beautiful. Just like you can really understand this data just within your browser. And you know, obviously you have to shout out, this is a 125 gigabyte file, right? But by the virtues of PM tiles, you know, intelligent storage format, you can explore this in a really rich way just from your browser and find individual addresses all across the world and points into this. Really, awesome. Yeah, really beautiful. And I'm just really happy with this integration for this data viewer. And yeah, let's keep cruising. That's the same product again, I believe. COGS. People like COGS, cloud optimized GeoTIFFs. We built this COG viewer. This is a cool satellite imagery of Riyadh, and we have a viewer in here that, you know, you can go in and change the bands and explore this data. And just to speak to this viewer to a certain extent, we're pursuing this idea of like reasonable defaults, right? So, you know, when you look at this cog with your min and max, it's actually really low contrast. It's very dark because there's just kind of a wide extent of, you know, there's some buildings here that, oh, here, let me actually go down here and turn the labels off. There's some buildings that have really high reflectance, and it basically skews the color bands to the edges. And so what we're doing is we're just by default showing 2 to 98% of the band, and it creates this kind of much more easy for a human to explore UI, at least in my opinion. If you don't like that, you can come in here and change it, right? The idea is that you can explore this data and interact with it, and, you know, explore the metadata. So yeah, that's that. That's the cog viewer. It's built with React, or pardon me, DeckGL raster, which is a great library also used for that.
Is there any way for the data provider to control like the defaults visualization that it starts off with?
No, not today. That is a known like desire, but we haven't yet built that in where you can specify the pre-baked defaults. Totally reasonable feature. I would not be surprised if we do that in the near future, but today we're not there yet. Okay, let's keep going. What are we looking at here? Oh, Parquet. This is STAC GeoParquet in particular, which is fun. So this is a really cool data set. All this polar radio spatial temporal, or pardon me, open polar radio radar data set. And what this is, these are flight patterns of different, I'm going to refresh this, of different different studies done over polar regions in the globe. And This is a beautiful UI created by Development Seed for exploring STAC GeoParquet, and you can click on the STAC item within here and go explore, I don't know, the contents of it. Here's some radar data that frankly I'm not qualified to describe, but you know, it's a real, again, just a rich way to explore this data in a visual sense. Yeah, really into it. Let's keep going. Remember zip files? Zips are still around. People are still zipping, and that's cool. We want to support that. So the really crazy thing that I learned during working on Source is that zips are, dare I say, kind of cloud optimized. This is a cozy. So I think this is a project based particularly on optimizing the storage format of zips. But I think this works for all zips, where you can view the contents of the zip in our viewer. This was put together by the Harvard Law Innovation Library, this viewer. And what's really crazy about it is that you can just reach in and download specific files from this viewer. Again, my file selector didn't share on the screen share, but when I press that button, I figured save the files on my disk. So that's cool. You don't need to download the entire entire zip if you just want to slice it. I didn't know you could do that until working on this project and seeing this viewer. So I think that's neat. Finally, another Harvard Library Innovation Lab. Yeah, Harvard Law Library Innovation Lab. This is another project from them. This is a great data set for the Smithsonian Open Access Archive. Huge, 784 terabytes. Shout out, that's a good data set. And it has this really cool, they've added this really cool 3D viewer. So you can just go in and check out this, I'm guessing a primate skull. Again, not qualified to tell you what exactly that is, but very cool all the same. Actually, I think this is cool because it's actually so small. It's 2.3 kilobytes, but you explore it in such a rich manner. So yeah, that's kind of the end of the viewer tour. We're adding more all the time. And if you, viewer, want to contribute a viewer, no pun intended, you can do that. Reach out if you have a data file. We have a few kind of on deck right now. Someone just contributed a PDF viewer. It's actually also the Harvard Law Innovation Library. Library of Innovation Lab. Anyways, they added a PDF viewer, but if you have other viewers you want to see added as a source, reach out. We can get that done. And yeah. All right, I think I'm going to throw back to Michelle. I think I've talked a lot about viewers, the back end. I'm curious, maybe you could speak about what people are doing on Source and data sets.
Totally. Yeah, so many cool things are happening on Source. We can't list all the cool new data sets that are coming up, but two we saw on the screen earlier. Now I'm going to share my screen. So this one that Anthony was just talking about is the Smithsonian archive. So it's just a mirror of data that exists somewhere else, or just trying to have a safe space for this data to exist. My first time on this platform. Sure, found it. But yeah, this is this data set. We think I'm obsessed with that, the skull. I have it pulled up too, but I'm just like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And this is just, I think, a really cool way to be sharing this data from 20 libraries and museums and research centers across the Smithsonian library in the coolest way ever. Like, I feel like I'm in the museum myself right now. I'm not even much of a museum buff, so I'm just really excited about this and the work that the Harvard Library of Innovation Lab is doing to share so much data with the world. And then the other big one that we wanted to give a little bit of more screen time for was this Global Fields of the World release. If you haven't heard of Fields of the World, it's a project that's been going on for the last couple of years, led by Taylor Geospatial. The intention was with that effort was to bridge academia and research that's happening into commercial setting and make things accessible for people outside of academia. And this is like a great example of something that's becoming useful and accessible to people throughout academia, but then also commercial uses or public uses. This effort, for a while, the first initial release of Fields of the World was predictions. There was certain areas that had the input for, and I'm not a machine learning expert, so I'm realizing that I don't have like the cleanest description of like how this got produced, but that it's grown over time to now we have this global field boundaries predictions for 2024 and 2025. And so this isn't inherently exactly what field boundary is on the ground, but it's a prediction based on the machine learning model, the PRU model that they ran this through, Sentinel-2 input imagery to create this. And some areas are going to perform better than others. But what's great is that this is only the first step. It's an amazing milestone. And also they're still wanting to improve this. So if you go to the Fields of the World site, there is an opportunity to, if you go to their Explorer, you can give feedback on how accurate you think field boundary is. So they have a confidence threshold. This is an external site, but I'm giving them a shout out. And so you can go in and kind of figure out, you can zoom in and give feedback of like, is this accurate or not? I don't need to give a full demo on this, but here I am. But yeah, like really cool work that this group has been doing. And I just love to see an effort where it's an awesome product and they're also not saying, okay, we did this and we're totally done. It's, hey, we did this and we'd love to know if what we're doing can be improved. So they're collecting more information that can be fed back in and made in the next iteration to make a better product for the public. So we're super proud of the work that they've been doing. So I'd love to give them a little shout out. So those are the two we wanted to chat about today. Lots of cool stuff always getting on Source. The danger with like doing the shout out of the product on these things is like, hey, what about mine? What about mine? It's tough. We got to draw some lines sometimes. But maybe this is great. Fuel some friendly competition of like, if you create a really standout product, maybe you'll get a shout out on our high viewer, our Source blog. But yeah, that's really what it's all about for us. Of like, okay, what are the hoping that people are motivated to make amazing data products and show them in a great way that makes it easy to show them off. And we're always, with the viewers especially, trying to find a way to make those data products easier to show off on our end too. So kind of a two-way street of creating a great data product, having a great README to talk about that data product, and then us making viewers a platform that, or like, a way for people to see those data sets easily and consume them in a way that makes sense to their brain. Okay.
Cool. I realized there was something I forgot to interject earlier on as I was listening to both of you guys speak, is I didn't talk about like the overall state of what the size of Source right now, because it's sometimes a little boggling. And that's something we can talk about each time that we have these vlogs and see the storage and usage change kind of over time. But to give ourselves a baseline here, we have on Source over 330 data products that are coming from over 130 orgs and individuals at this point. We're over 5 petabytes. And for the last couple of months, we've been receiving over 1 billion requests per month So for March and April of this year, it just keeps ramping up in terms of usage. So that's sort of our scale of like what we're at right now in terms of how much we're storing and serving. And we can revisit that in the future episodes, see if it changes. It will. All right. So that's mostly what we wanted to cover today. Unless you guys can think of anything else, we could start wrapping this at this point.
Yeah, is there any questions in the chat or anything?
I didn't see anything in the chat. It could have been how I configured it or something, but I don't know. Haven't seen it there. So I think we'll just invite conversation to happen outside of here. Probably the easiest way is if you use GitHub, go and find the Source Cooperative organization on GitHub. We also have a Slack that we can get you connected to. And then also, if you prefer email, these other ones don't work for you, just hello@source.coop is the email that you can get a hold of us. So that's kind of the catch-all. If everything else fails, just send us an email, and then we'll get you routed in the correct location. So for that, I think that's a wrap then. Any other last comments, Michelle, Anthony?
Yeah.
Or are we good?
I'll just add, right now we still have, in a sense, there's a layer of beta of where we're still at since we determine what data sets can go on to Source Cooperative. So there's in our docs, there's a link to become a data provider for Source Cooperative. So if you want to host your data right now, all our data is stored in the AWS Open Data Program, but by nature has to be data that you're okay with being open. And then we evaluate if it's something that we want to host through that program. And then that's how all the data that we're hosting right now has been shared. So if that's you and you're not sharing data on Source yet and you want to, fill out that form to become a data provider. And that's how we move you in that process. And then if you're a user and you want to use any of this data, it's all available for the public to use. You don't even necessarily need an account on Source to get that data. You can make one, but you don't have to. So, and that's all on Source as well. So those are just the two sides of it. Oh, and I guess in the middle we've mentioned if you want to create a data viewer or you want to be involved with some building of Source, there's the data side or the engineering side that you can get involved with too.
Cool. Docs.source.coop is where you can go for the docs. And that's kind of the catch-all for all kinds of information. Good starting place. Anything else, Anthony?
No, I think that was
all right.
Cool.
Yeah, that was a lot. So this is the most popular, well-attended Changevlog we've ever done.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Wow. Cheers to that. Yeah. And we're always open to feedback. If people want to hear more about something in particular, we're happy to focus on that more next time. But yeah, we're doing this for you all. So
when's next time going to be?
Maybe in a month. We'll see.
Right.
Maybe
Sounds
mid.
Good.
People will be getting information about it when we're ready for it.
Sounds good.
Not a hard time, but yeah. Also we have the Fields of the World product that I was just talking about. There was a blog or a podcast on that this week with Jed to learn more, to talk with Jen Marcus and Isaac Corley from Taylor Geospatial. So if you want to hear more about that data product, that is on the Great Data Products podcast. That can be buy rating, or if you want to learn more about that, maybe in a more clear, concise way from the leaders themselves. So that's another resource I'll give a shout out to finish that off.
Cool.
Cool.
All right, so let's have this as a wrap, and it'll be up on YouTube, and see you guys next time.
Sweet.